Hello and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jacqueline Dorsey of Lean Frontiers and I'll serve as your host today. I'm excited to bring to you today a short webinar on lean coaching facilitated by Mike Wroblewski. Mike is a Master Sensei and Shingo Award-winning co-author of Creating a Kaizen Culture and has over 27 years of manufacturing management and consulting experience, strong technical skills, and a passion for teaching Kaizen, lean manufacturing, and Six Sigma. Due to our limited time for this webinar, we will not be doing a Q&A session, but this will be recorded if you want to refer back to it later. So for now, let me turn things over to Mike.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Welcome, everyone. We're going to talk a little bit about daily leadership and some of the things that I've seen as I've been the consultant going around trying to teach others how to do the approach of Kaizen. And it's going to be a few stories and a few slides, so please bear with me as we go through this. First, I am a Master Sensei. That means teacher. It's someone that can help guide and mentor people. Some people think it means that I know everything as a master, but no, I don't know everything about Lean. I'm still a student. So I'm forever teaching, I'm forever learning. So as a student, I'm learning just like you every day how to do Kaizen better. I do know a lot of things, so I try to share that with all my clients and all my friends as to how we can actually improve ourselves on a daily basis. Now, when I show this picture, some people chuckle and laugh, and they have questions about it. And it's not something that I typically wear, and this is certainly not my house. This is a picture of me when I was in Japan trying to study Toyota and other companies, how they approached Kaizen. So they actually had us stay at a traditional Japanese hotel. And at this traditional Japanese hotel, we were not allowed to wear Western clothes. So we were wearing the yukatas, we were sitting on the floor for our meals, we rolled out mats to sleep on the floor, beautiful environment. But they put us there so that we could experience something outside of our normal culture, so that we could become open-minded. And that's the only thing I ask you to bring through this next 30 minutes or so, is have an open mind to how we're going to look at things. And that way you can have room to learn. I am an author, co-author of the book Creating a Kaizen Culture. We were lucky enough to be awarded the Shingo Institute Prize for research and publication last year. It was a pretty good endeavor, but it was our attempt, or our first attempt, to actually put in writing some of the things that we learned about how companies can sustain or create a Kaizen culture. As most of you probably know, if you're experienced in the Kaizen journey, is that most people are orientated toward the tools. And what we have found that it's really the culture, it's the behavior that is causing us not to get the sustaining effects of a Kaizen approach. So what does that mean? What do we have to do? Most people want to have that translated and try to figure this out. So that's what we tried to put in this book. I'm part of the Kaizen Institute at this time, working on a global level, trying to help clients all around the world. Through my experiences with the Kaizen Institute, I have worked from India to Japan to Australia and all across mainly the United States. Spent a lot of time in Europe also, in Portugal, Spain, and in the Netherlands, and one trip in Germany. No matter where I go across the world, everyone is pretty much the same of trying to figure out how they want to sustain this culture of Kaizen. I'm lucky enough to have worked with Masaki Imai, who is our founder and president of the Kaizen Institute. A brilliant man who still goes around in his mid-80s today teaching Kaizen. So he's been an inspiration for me to learn how to approach teaching others how to do Kaizen. He happens to be the author of the book Kaizen and Gemba Kaizen, if people are familiar with those earlier works. So he's been a very good influence as far as how to approach Kaizen. One of my first senseis was Shigeru Shingo. I was lucky enough when I was fresh out of college to have him come to my company down in Batesville, Indiana, when I was working at Hillrom, teaching me this SMED approach, single minute exchange of die. So through his translator, since he couldn't speak English very well, he taught us the principles of that SMED system. So we went down to the shop floor, go to Gemba, is what he taught. Said, let's go see. So that's what we did. When we went there, we found a typical press setup would take about an hour. And he said it should be 10 minutes or less. And of course, we were shaking our head like there's no way that we can do this in 10 minutes or less. and he approached us to have an open mind to learn his principles. So when we started learning about internal and external elements, and we would go setup after setup after setup, implementing each of these approaches, we were able to whittle down each time our setup changed over time. So at the end of 1 week, we went from 1 hour to roughly 4.5 minutes and change over time. With that experience in 1985, that sold me in the Kaizen thinking, this approach. So I was lucky enough to have him give me the Toyota. Toyota's the company that we looked at that is the example of how culture of Kaizen should be. I want to remind everyone we're not here to copy Toyota. If we copy Toyota, we would fail. But we want to learn from the successes Toyota has, because they are not perfect like any of us are. And then we can learn from how they do things. So let's think about it. What had made Toyota successful? What makes Toyota successful is their culture. It's not the tools. And you probably experienced this is because we went over to Japan, we learned all the tools, we brought over value stream mapping, we brought over hour-by-hour charts, we brought over SMED, we brought over 5S, all these tools, and we really quickly tried to implement the tools, and all of a sudden, ta-da, nothing happened. Things would not sustain. We did not embed or understand the culture portion of it. So what do we mean by the tools and the culture, right? Tools, here's a list of all the ones that you're probably familiar with that we have used. Some of you probably have used value stream mapping, others probably have even used Hoshin planning. But the idea is that we stuck these tools in and we didn't have the baseline. So when we look at the culture, what are we talking about? We're talking about our thinking, we're talking about our attitudes, and more importantly, we're talking about our behaviors. What are our behaviors as leaders in an organization? What is it that we actually do? How do we act? What do we say? What's our approach? And let me give you some examples so we can go through it. So here's one. Client of mine. We were working on built-in quality, and one of the things that I taught them tool-wise is self and successive checks. If you're familiar with the built-in quality, what we're trying to build into their standard work is the opportunity for an operator to do 2 or 3 critical checks of their own work and do 2 or 3 checks of work coming to them so that we can go into the accept no defects, make no defects, pass no defects on. So if you look at this, take a look at this chart. This is the audit sheet that the team leader has showing that they're checking if that successive and self-check is being done. So if you look at that, think about what you see. Now, as a consultant, you may say, all right, they're good. They're doing the checks, just like you said. Great. We sign that off. But that's really what it is. It's a pencil whip. It's a check. Based on the fact that they drew the arrows all the way down, do you think that they are actually checking once 35 and after 37 and 39? Or do you think at the end of the day, they said, oh, yeah, I got to make sure that I let you know that I did all the checks, and shoot, they draw the lines all the way across, and you see this sheet. Yes, I did all my audits. Done. Task complete. So that's a task-orientated mindset versus what is it we're really trying to do behavior-wise. So we need to look at the behavior of the team leader so that they understand that it's not just a check sheet that we want to help them coach by sequence, by part, to make sure self and successful checks going are there. So you're doing a pulse check on each one that we're doing the correct behavior of self and successive checks. So they missed the point completely, and we had to go back and retrain them on it. So the idea is you can look at certain things like this to say, yes, this is a tool in place, but the behavior is not supporting the sustained approach. Here's another good one, suggestion box. We had a suggestion box in one of my clients. I saw this on the shop floor. It's your traditional box that's locked. And I shook my head and said, why do we have this suggestion box? And they said, well, we want to promote suggestions from the employees to come up with good ideas. I said, all right, great. I said, who's got the key? And that's what I heard, nothing. No one knew who had the key. So it took them actually a whole day to find who had the key. So I said, okay, when was the last time it was open? Since we didn't know where the key was. And no one really knew last time it was open. I said, are there any suggestions in there? Well, they didn't know because they didn't open the box. So here they have a tool again of a good idea of having suggestions being promoted for employees, but the behaviors didn't support good Kaizen approach, good leadership. So we opened up the box, and lo and behold, we found one Kaizen suggestion in the box. So I said, we need to deal with this. We need to now work with this. And I asked them what they wanted to do. And they said, well, let's look at the idea and see if it's something we can implement. I said, no, that's not the first thing we should do. They go, well, what should we do? I said, well, who's the operator that turned the suggestion in? And they told me that person's name. I said, I want you to go to that operator right now and apologize for not opening up the suggestion box and getting his suggestion. And then I want that lock taken off the box if we're going to keep the box, or better yet, let's have an open panel so that we can see the ideas visible on a board versus in a box. And then after you apologize to the operator, I want you to work with them on their suggestion. So again, that's what we want to demonstrate: behaviors, the actions of respect for people. Having a locked box and not opening it and going through is not really a respect for people. So again, we're looking at behaviors of how people act versus the tools of saying a suggestion box. So we had to work with that client going forward, and if you go to that plant right now, that suggestion box is no longer there. It's been taken down, and we've reworked their approach of how they daily ask operators what they need to do to improve and how they respond on a daily manner, all the suggestions that come from the operators. Here's another one in my ventures in different Gimbas. Here's a typical board. Everybody says, all right, we need to have a board, call it a ComCell board or a KPI board, and then you have these metrics of, say, safety and productivity. But what do you see here, or what's better yet, what's missing? If you notice under the countermeasures, those are blank. So I see two things when I go to Gemba. I see either that section blank, or I see it completely outdated, like 3 or 4 months ago. So that tells me that their Kaizen is not active. And if their Kaizen is not active, then they're not improving anything, and they're not having good PDCA. So the approach is they have the fancy board up as a tool, but they don't have the behavior of how they use that tool going forward. Another good one is the hour-by-hour chart. It's one of my best tools that I like using to check on the pace against takt time of how you're doing on operation. Are you actually meeting takt time? I see this in many manufacturing companies. It's very simple to put an hour-by-hour chart, and you track every by hour what you're planned to do and what you actually do. But that's where most companies stop. I don't see anything on the countermeasures or the reasons are very poor. So some of the things that I've seen is either completely blank, or that I see that they've talked to the operator and retrained them, or they passed it on to another group like materials in this case, or they passed it on to QA, or they passed it on to some other group for them to deal with, and they don't do anything. Again, what I view this as a couple of common behavior issues. One is we can't do anything, it's out of our control. As soon as they hit a roadblock, they hand it off to somebody else. So that's a behavior that we want to change. We want to be able to control and do things more within our own environment. Also, operators go through, check every hour, do this, but the team lead or the supervisors don't go there and say, all right, why did I not make my rate at 10 o'clock? And what were some of the root causes? And what can I do on PDCA to solve it? Hour by hour. And that's part of the daily behavior that we want within leaders is they need to check every hour if they're going to do an hour-by-hour chart and really break down into the root cause analysis and do actual problem solving to figure out what is causing each day what is wrong. What I see is most companies will have the tool out there, but they don't have the problem solving behaviors in place to really do good root cause analysis, and they don't go through the good problem solving. So what happens is you survive the day and you come back tomorrow and you try to relive another day in Gemba and not solve the problem. So that's the approach that we want to try to change that behavior. So I don't look for hour-by-hour charts being posted. I look for how the behavior that goes in with how people create their actions as a result of the information from an hour-by-hour chart. That tells me their culture. Another cool thing that I like to see is I go around offices and look at cubes and look at the bulletin boards, and lo and behold, in many companies, I'll see a lot of Dilbert cartoons posted up in the plants or in the offices. So what does that tell you? Does that tell you that they're all leaders because they have a sense of humor, as you noticed here in this cartoon? No, that's not how I look at it. Typically, if you look at Dilbert, and I do find his humor quite funny, but what I find is that it's a sarcastic tone against the ills of management, if you will. So if I see a lot of Dilbert cartoons up in a facility, that shows me that we have an issue with trust within management. We have an issue with how leaders are viewed and how people are using this to display the fact that they have this sense of sarcasm against the leadership that we have within the organization. So that's a culture indicator to me as to what the company is actually working with employees and how employees feel without them actually saying, because they'll say, yeah, everything's good, everything's fine. When you see these cartoons everywhere, it tells you it's a warning sign that what they are experiencing is not positive in a culture point of view. So then you ask questions. Let's do a PDCA on it. Why is it that people have all these Dilbert cartoons? Why is it that we have this sense of mistrust, and what can we do about it? Do we ever do any plan, do, check, act on this? Probably not. We just either tell them, no, we don't allow these Dilbert cartoons in our plant anymore. It's disrespectful, and HR policy says we have to take them all down. That's typically, again, going to reinforce the fact that more Dilbert cartoons are going to go up instead of less. So again, culture is what we're after. So some of the things that I look for behaviors: do we make problems visible? That's one of the key proponents of how we want to solve all problems. If we don't make problems visible, they'll become hidden, and if they're hidden, we can never solve the problem. So I look for, do we allow bad indicators in place? What do we do with scrap? Is it right there in the aisle so we can do problem solving, or do they hide the scrap? What is it? Are we afraid to say what the problems are? And the funny thing is, our customers, our clients, everybody knows what problems we do have, so hiding scrap is not going to do anything to change their image if we got a quality problem or not. And the same thing with upper management. So that ostrich approach of hiding problems and not solving them just doesn't get us to the good PDCA. So when you look at PDCA, again, this is another opportunity on behavior. PDCA is a great approach to solve problems. So plan, do, check, act. Do we go through that full cycle? Most companies do not go through that cycle. Most companies say they do, but they don't. And what I see is most companies do a lot of planning. I had a client just last week basically say, I don't need help understanding what I need to do. I just need doers to do it. So they were really good at identifying waste. They were very good at identifying problems. They had plans. They had value stream maps, all that data and support, but they didn't do anything with it. They just planned. So I call that PP. So that's one approach. So the other one is that there's no plans, and all people do is shotgun approach, and they're always trying to, all right, we got this action going, we got this action going, we got this problem. They skip through the root cause analysis, and they go right to doing things. So I call that DD or do-do. So they're always doing, and they're not planning, and they're not either checking or following up to see what we're doing or adjusting our work. So those are issues that we have, is what is their approach on planning and what is their approach on the actual activities for countermeasures, and do they check and verify, do they make the improvements? Do they learn anything from it? Are they adjusting? Are they putting in standard work? You've got to do the full PDCA cycle, and that's lacking. So Peter Drucker said that culture eats strategy for breakfast. So culture is really the key we're after, and I hope you had a few points here of what you can look for from a strategy point of view that we want to set up. The culture, if we can change and identify those things in the behaviors, and from those behaviors, if we can start helping teach managers to manage with a lean approach, then you're going to start seeing things sustaining. Masaki Umai, the founder of Kaizen Institute, said Kaizen is improvement by everybody, every day, everywhere. So it's not necessarily a Kaizen event where you do it once every month or quarter. It's little things we can do every day, the approaches we do every day. What are the words we do? What's the actions? Do we go to Gemba? Do we check every hour how things are operating? Do we support the people and the ideas that they have on the floor every day? What is it we do every day that helps us improve our business? John Miller, who was used to be the Kaizen Institute CEO, and now is the partner and co-founder of Gemba Academy, said it would be a lot easier if we would stop calling it lean and understand it's all about serving others, developing people, and solving problems. So again, it's not about the tools. If you notice what he's saying there, it's about how we can develop people, how we can improve processes and do a lot of problem solving. So is it possible to engage 100% of the people? Some people don't think it is. So let's do a little PDCA. If you talk about Dr. Edward Demings, he would say if management stopped demotivating their employees, then they wouldn't have to worry so much about motivating them. So I agree with him. I don't think we can actually motivate employees. I think what we can do is stop demotivating them. The employees get motivated internally, not externally. So let's stop demotivating them. So what can we do? Remove the things that demotivate the people one by one, and then you can build that trust back. And it's going to be a long process. If they don't have the trust built in, you're not going to build a Kaizen culture. So look at how you're handling people. Look at the respect. Are you listening to what they're saying? Are you valuing their intelligence, their knowledge of the standard work, their knowledge of the processes? Are you listening when they say things are broken? Are you fixing them? Those are all things you can do one by one every day. And once you do that every day, they'll start seeing your actions, and then they'll become not demotivated. They'll become motivated again. Fujitsu basically said, as a former chairman of Toyota, there's 3 things we need to do as leaders: go see, ask why, show respect. So always go to Gemba, ask your 5 whys, and then show respect. And then that last one is probably the hardest one for people to understand. What does it mean by showing respect? It's not, hi, how are you? Can I open the door for you? And treat people nicely. No, showing respect is the fact that you look at another employee saying, they're another intelligent human being who can help us improve the process. They have ideas. We ask them what they think. We compliment them on their process. We support them in their processes to improve. So showing respect is the actions we do as treating employees for understanding what they can bring and contribute, and appreciating that, not just being nice. One question I want to leave with everyone is, are you working in the system or on the system? Are you so caught up in trying to get the work out, or are you stepping back and saying, how can I improve the process of our work? This is the one question you should ask yourself every day if you were talking about daily leadership. Because most of us as leaders, and I've done this as a plant manager and as a director of operations too, I'm just as guilty. I so get caught up in trying to get production out. I never step back and say, gosh, there's got to be better ways to get this work done. Am I putting efforts into improving the system of getting the work done than just the work itself? So I try to match my day to be focused on improving the system, not just getting work out. Edgar Schein was an MIT professor who basically said the only thing really important that leaders can do is to manage the culture. That culture is the key component. So what are we doing every day? So if you want to look at daily leadership, what do we do every day to help improve our culture? What do we do to improve and develop people? And again, to support the fact that I'm looking at behaviors, artifacts are the tools that we have. That's what we ever see, and that's the surface of where everybody gets stuck at. I think we have to go a little bit deeper and say, what are the behaviors we do with these tools? And then from those behaviors, what are our core beliefs to make it sustain? If we don't have all 3 of these of the ABCs, then you're not going to sustain, very simply. So you can look at simple examples like 5S. Yes, we're supposed to do 5S. So artifacts are tape on the floor. We put things away. But what's our behaviors? Do we keep the tape in good use? Do we always put things back every day? Do we check to make sure things are back every day? Are we maintaining it on a daily basis? That behavior you can work on to make sure that you sustain the tool portion of it. But then your core belief is that we must have an organized workplace. If we don't believe an organized workplace will help us, well, then we're not going to do the behaviors, and if we're not going to do behaviors, the tools will not help us. That's what it comes down to. So we have 5 things that you can do as a good leader: knowledge of work, knowledge of responsibility, skill in teaching, skill in improvement, skill in leading. These are things that you can look at each day and say, how can I improve myself in each of these 5 categories? Or pick one and improve yourself in that category. Again, part of our daily approach is we should be teaching every day, we should be improving every day, and we should be working with people to help improve their process every day. So these are 5 things you can just checklist to see, are you doing these every day? Are you improving yourself in these areas every day? And the last I'll leave with a quote from Vince Lombardi. Being from Wisconsin, I'm a big Green Bay Packer fan. Excellence is achieved by mastery of the fundamentals. So what it comes down to is, are we looking at our daily behaviors? Are we becoming masters of how we handle our problem-solving, plan, do, check, act? Do we become masters at 5S? Do we become masters at standard work? If we can concentrate on our basic tackling and passing and blocking of lean and Kaizen, then we'll become excellent. So that's the presentation I have. I know that I won't have many questions and answers for this, but I want to make sure that if you do have questions and answers that you can certainly have a way of contacting me. I have two good ways. You can send me an email, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have, or have discussions with you as to how you're doing on your lean journey. You can certainly connect with me on LinkedIn, and then we can stay connected. So anything you need to help understand how this culture, and it's a big thing, this culture, of how to help set this up, I'll be glad to help you. So thank you so much for listening in, and hopefully you gained some insight as to a direction you want to go to improve your lean journey. And best of luck in your journey.
All right. Well, Mike, thank you for facilitating our session today. If you'd like to hear Mike speak again, he will be keynoting at this year's TWI HR Summit held in San Antonio on May 12th through the 13th. If you want to learn more, please visit www.twyhr.leanfrontiers.com. Mike will also be presenting at the Summit on Lean Leadership, which will be in June in Charlotte, North Carolina. And if you want to learn more about that, you can visit www.thesummitonleanleadership.com. So to wrap up for today, I want to remind you all that today's webinar is being recorded. So look for an email following our time together for a link to the recording. And feel free to share this throughout your organization. So again, thank you, Mike, and thanks to each of you for participating in today's session. Goodbye.